one or
This
two more
conference
minutes
will
here,
now be recorded.
and then we'll get started very shortly. Okay, welcome everybody. We're going to get started today with our virtual conference. We want to welcome everyone who's tuning in today, our attendees out there, as well as our presenters. We're going to have 3 presenters today from Joliet Junior College, and also another associate behind the scenes working the PowerPoint for us today. So again, welcome. Hope everybody is having a good Wednesday. First of all, I want to start off by thanking Joliet Junior College for not only presenting today, but for being our sponsor of this virtual conference. If you or your company is interested in sponsoring these sessions in the future, please contact our office and we can work with you on that, as we do have a number of them lined up in the coming weeks. So today's session is filling the knowledge and skills gap, how Joliet Junior College can help through a registered apprenticeship program. And I want to talk a little bit about JJC before we move into introductions. So with JJC's commencement postponed, students taking coursework online, and faculty and staff working remotely from home, Joliet Junior College has been proactive in its response to these unprecedented challenges. In the true spirit of community college model, they have continued to do what is best. We adapt, we flex, and we respond to the constantly evolving needs of our students, business, and industry. At JJC, it is important to us to remain proactive, decisive, and thoughtful in our plans to help our future and current students plan their semesters. With that in mind, we want to reiterate some of the newer opportunities that we have launched, which is why I want to remind our business partners about the incredible resource that an apprenticeship program brings here to our community. So again, thank you to Joliet Junior College. And like I said earlier, hopefully everybody has picked up about muting their devices, the questions in the chat, being able to toggle through the camera. And then the last thing is we will be recording this session and posting it on our website for everybody to see or share with others that may have been interested and not able to join us today. So with all of that out of the way, I am going to introduce our presenters, and then we'll turn it over to our moderator to get our session started today. First of all, we have Paul Cave joining us. Paul is an associate professor in the Industrial Maintenance Technology program at Joliet Junior College. Prior to teaching at JJC, he completed a 5-year apprenticeship with the Plumbers and Pipefitters United Association Local 422 and holds an Illinois State plumbing license. Mr. Cave has an associate's degree in industrial maintenance technology from JJC and is currently completing a business administration degree at Purdue University. Ann Escobar has an extensive work history in multiple roles at Marriott International and Hilton brand. For the past 10 years, Ann has taught hospitality courses in JJC's business department. She has a bachelor from the University of Illinois and an MBA from the University of Illinois, Chicago. She is also a certified hospitality educator. And Melissa Lashik is the Continuing Education Development Coordinator for Corporate and Community Services at JJC. Melissa is responsible for the development and implementation of marketing strategies to promote non-credit programs and events through print and digital mediums, as well as social media. She is also part of a collaborative effort to team up with corporate partners in outreach efforts to provide educational opportunities in career and technical education pathways. Melissa holds a Bachelor in Journalism and Communications from the University of St. Francis here in Joliet. And last but not least is Amy Murphy, and Amy is the Dean of Applied Arts, Workforce Education and Training at Joliet Junior College, and she is going to be our PowerPoint master for today. So I'm going to turn things over to Ann, and Ann is going to be our moderator today, and I will be jumping in from time to time with questions. So with that said, I will turn things over to Ann. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having us today. We really appreciate it. We know that your time is very, very valuable, and we hope that we can honor that time that you're giving us by providing you with some great information about apprenticeships. We're going to talk about what exactly are registered apprenticeships. Hopefully we can offset some of the misconceptions maybe that you might have about apprenticeships. We'll talk about benefits, and we'll touch on some of the drawbacks of apprenticeships. And then we'll talk about who should you get in touch with, who can you work with at Joliet Junior College to get started in a program like this. And I want to take a minute to urge you that if you even have just the tiniest thought that this might be something that would work for your company, reach out to us, because we're here to serve you. It doesn't cost you anything, and we can do some of that legwork for you. So don't put it off. Just reach out to us. It's very low risk. We're not going to put the hard sell on you. We just want to see if that's something that we can work with you on. So Melissa, I don't know about you, but when I think about apprenticeships, I tend to think about things in the construction industry. I think electricians, carpentry. If I wanted to get into an apprenticeship, I would go that direction. Is that an accurate picture of apprenticeships?
Actually, apprenticeships are, the construction trades may have, like, they have the first model that was established, but there are so many opportunities for apprenticeships, a lot of non-traditional occupations, if you will. Some of the areas that we're actually focusing on are advanced manufacturing, culinary arts, hospitality, transportation, healthcare, and agriculture and horticulture. So there's over 1,100 occupations that are eligible through the Department of Labor to become an occupation through the Registered Apprenticeship Program. So it's not just limited to the trades, but that is a model that we follow. Actually, the apprenticeship model was established by the trades, rather. So, and as far as construction goes, we work very closely with local construction to refer anybody over who may be interested in the trades. That's not an area that we're pursuing.
Okay, so if you're interested and it's just not something that we can help you with, we can at least point you in the right direction. You know, I was interested, I heard recently that Kim Kardashian is doing an apprenticeship in law, and I was just amazed at the variety of options that are available. So what exactly is an apprenticeship? Is it the same thing as an internship?
It's not, actually. The biggest component, and I'll touch on the actual components that make it up, but the biggest difference, a registered apprenticeship program, an apprentice is actually your employee. It's somebody that you want to invest in, whether it's a new hire or maybe a current employee that you'd like to upskill. And it's also investing in them to learn the skills that you would like to have them master so that they learn. There's a lot of reasons why you'd want to improve employee retention, so you can reduce turnover and show that commitment. I mean, there's even a statistic that 94% of apprentices retain employment after the program is done. So it just shows that long-term investment. And an apprentice can earn a wage while they're learning the skills and competencies. And an internship, rather, is kind of a short-term, 1 to 3 months. Sometimes they're paid, sometimes they're not paid, but the biggest difference is that with an apprenticeship also, they'll get an industry credential when they're done. I see internships being more as kind of a career exploration avenue that they can kind of see if that's something that's right for them.
Okay, so an internship, I do it over the summer. It's something that I'm expecting to end. I'll go back to school, maybe learn a little bit more, and eventually go out and look for a job. Whereas an apprenticeship, it combines that school and work, so it's a great combination. Is there a difference between a registered apprenticeship and an apprenticeship?
Not really. The biggest difference is becoming a registered apprenticeship program. You're actually formalizing the agreement. There might be companies that are already kind of doing that, sending employees for, some related instruction classes, kind of learning on the job, but it's really becoming registered is just formalizing that agreement. And then the biggest piece for the apprentice is that national credential through the Department of Labor. That is an industry standard that shows that somebody in Illinois who has mastered the skills of, say, a machinist would be able to go out to California. It's transferable. Once they've met that, I mean, all those have been vetted through industry, so they've really gained the knowledge and proficiencies to be a master of their occupation.
Okay, so how exactly is it set up? How does it work?
Well, depending on the occupation, there's different programs. Kind of a brief overview, there's different types that are available. There's a time-based program, a competency-based program, or a hybrid, which is a combination of both time and competency. Depending on the occupation, that's how it's established, and we would work with you to determine what way that would go. But at a minimum, and they can also vary in length between 1 year, 5 year. Again, it just depends on what has been established as industry standards through the Department of Labor. But the minimum would be 144 hours related instruction and 2,000 hours on the job training. That's per year. But a part-time employee would also be eligible for this. And if it takes a little longer, like say it's competency-based and you have an employee that's learning the skills, but it's taken them maybe a little bit longer, that's okay. That's just the range. And in addition, there's also a little flexibility when you design the program that depending on what the occupation is, you can increase or decrease by 25%. So I want you to keep in mind that there's the opportunity for flexibility for your program. So it's not just this is what it is and it has to be. We can work, to kind of be flexible and see what's going to be best for your company.
Okay, and when you talk about time-based versus competency-based, what does that mean exactly?
For example, if an apprenticeship is 2 years, and then there'll be certain benchmarks along the way, and I'll explain kind of what that means a little bit later on. But say it's a 2-year program, every 6 months there would be a check-in point, but it goes by time. So they're saying in 2 years, you're going to be finished with the program. If it is competency-based, there's a whole set of competencies. Take, for instance, a cook. If you want to make sure their cutting skills are up to par, if they know how to do pastries, if they know how to do certain things and they master it, then their mentor would cross that off the list. They met those competencies. That's where that can, sometimes you might have a superstar that might really fly through the competencies. And it's okay if it takes somebody a little longer, that's what the main difference is.
Okay, thank you. Paul, I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about some of the benefits of a registered apprenticeship program.
Yeah. Well, one of the great benefits is if you team up with Joliet Junior College, you get to pull from our students, which is already a very diverse, student body. And it's not always easy just to put an ad out on Monster and get the right candidates, exactly what you're going for. And we have over 180 different certificates and degree programs that we can tailor to exactly what it is that your organization needs. which, like I said, just pulling stuff up from Monster, it's really hard to just, dial in candidates like it would be for an apprenticeship. And like I said before, we can tailor anything, to what you need, especially with having the 180 different programs. I mean, there's apprenticeships, up north. There's another college that's teaming with Zurich Insurance. We have the culinary arts program that we're doing, where we have a student that's going through to do, be able to run a restaurant, moving from, washing dishes on his way up. So that's one of the big benefits with teaming with JJC for an apprenticeship, is the diversity in your workforce and exactly what it is that you're looking for. And it's that'll help you to your productivity of your employee. He or she will be in school learning something, 1 week, and they'll be right back out at your company applying those skills as they're learning them. So it's, we brought up the other day when we were discussing this, how many people can remember what they did their freshman year going for their bachelor's. Now here you'll be actually going through, getting the training and applying that, right off the bat. And, it's going to reflect the productivity and the efficiency of your organization. We talked about, flexible training options. We have, a boatload of those. So then the tax credits, you can get up to from $3,500 to $5,000 per apprentice, and that tops off somewhere in the millions of dollars. So if anybody's going to get up to that point, we're doing pretty well. I don't see that happening, but that's a pretty good benefit to, $35,000 to $5,000. And we talked about earlier, someone brought up, it's hard to retain employees. So the average retention rate is 94% for apprentices when they're done actually staying at the organization. So you showing that you're invested, in your employee, helping out with training, showing them a clear path of travel so that it doesn't look like they're stagnant in the company. It creates a loyal employee, and everybody knows how much it costs to actually, for one, go through the hiring process. And then after you hire an employee, training them in the skills that they need for one, and just about your company, and getting them used to and acclimated to your organization. So that retention's huge. And the workers are paid, so that's going to make people happy, obviously. And they're getting, I like to say, you learn when you earn, and earn when you learn. So with the internships, things like that, or if you're just going through a traditional, you're going to school, you're accumulating all this debt. In this case, depending on the setup, which I'll talk about a little bit later, the model of who's going to pay for what, the student isn't sitting there accumulating a ton of debt, going to a 4-year university, and they're actually making money as they're going along and gaining relevant skills with your organization as they're going through, versus going through a traditional college program and then coming out and looking for a job, which a lot of people know that's not always easy, especially with what we might be facing in the future here. We could probably go on to that next one.
And I have our first two questions. If we can pause.
Fantastic.
The first question is the training provided only for credit or as credit classes?
Okay. Melissa, you want to take that one?
Sure. The training could be online or in person, and can be non-credit classes, or it could also be credit classes. So there's variations. It could be just a couple of classes that you feel are relevant to the occupation, or it could be all the way through to a whole degree program. But even if it was like, for instance, a CPR class that you didn't necessarily get credit for, but you got a certificate, that's perfectly fine as well.
So the process of setting it up is very cooperative. We work hand in hand with the employer to kind of match it to their needs specifically.
Yes, definitely. That's what's so great about the customization of it, and we'll work with the employers to get that set up that will align with what they're looking for.
Okay.
The second question, I believe Paul began to answer the first part, but and I'm sure maybe you might touch as we go on, but how is the apprenticeship structured, the duration of it, quality control, and then who pays the college tuition portion?
Want me to go with that one?
Yeah,
All right.
go ahead, Paul.
All right. So the structure can be either time-based or what's the other one? Melissa?
Competency.
It's
Yeah,
competency-based,
competency-based. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for.
or then the
It-
hybrid.
yeah, it could be a little bit of both. And I was looking forward to the duration. That's where we tailor make it to whatever your organization's needs. Um, if you're, training something where they can accumulate the knowledge that they need in a year, then it can be a year. If it needs to be 3 to 5 years, that's all depends on what it is that you're looking for.
And Paul, I think it's important to note that it is a minimum of 1 year. So it can go up from there, but generally speaking, you're going to have an apprentice for at least a year.
Mhm. And I'll talk a little bit more, or we will, about the two different types that we've set up for some people. A couple of apprentices that we have a little bit later. I can go ahead and answer this. I was gonna get to this in the slide coming down here. There's a few different models on who can pay for the tuition. The first one is the student pays for it. Your apprentice pays for it out of their pocket. You're not obligated when you sign up to pay for classes. Uh, that being said, that model, it helps if you have some skin in the game. It really shows that you're invested in that employee. If you do at least provide some kind of incentives, if they get an A, you pay so much, they get a B, you pay so much, things like that I've seen. Another way is you pay for it, or the student pays for it, and then they're reimbursed out of, from the company. And then the third one would be you go ahead and pay for it out of your corporate training funds. So that's three different ways that it can be funded. I go a little bit further about that. We also really go out of our way. We have some great people in our corporate office up front where they're constantly looking for different grants and scholarships. Each semester I'm sitting there trying, and I have to talk students into applying for scholarships, and some of the scholarships actually don't even get used from year to year. So we have scholarships that we can actually set up for or that they can apply for, and then there's different grants, and there's also FAFSA, your traditional routes where you can receive grants need-based from the government. Like recently, one of the grants that we just had was called Promise America, and they were paying for 100% of in a high growth area. They're paying for 100% books, tuition, fees, and everything for the students. Then there's the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act that's out right now, and that's also for different high growth areas that they're capable of receiving funds for that from. That answer it?
Yeah, that sounds great, Paul.
All right. So then we can, we've already talked about a lot of these benefits. I can hit on, just kind of reiterate on them a little bit more. The one thing is the clear path of travel that an apprentice sees throughout the program. They know that they're not going to be stuck at making, $15 an hour. They can see, all right, if I keep working hard, making sure I'm showing up for work, which unfortunately I hear from a lot of companies can be a problem. As long as they're showing up, getting all their classes done, they can see that their hard work is going to pay off. They're not going to be stuck at a dead end position. And another thing for the company, it's very important. I want to make sure that I say before I forget, is one, it's no risk. We brought this up before. We don't charge, for you to come in and us to tailor this apprenticeship program to your company. And on top of that, we take care of all the paperwork, which can be one of the things that a company's afraid of when it comes to joining with the government, is all the paperwork and red tape and things like that. We have people that take care of all that for you. You don't have to take care of any of that. And it all can it just gets handed out to you. As far as the tax credit, we do all the paperwork. The paperwork, once you actually sign on to the program, there's a through the Department of Labor, it's Rapids produces a document for that tax credit, and you'll just be given that document. You take it to your tax accountant or whatnot. That you don't have to do any of that paperwork. We do all that for you. I saw quality control. I didn't touch on that one earlier. Obviously, we're going to be, keeping track of the apprentice if they're coming to class, how they're doing there. Now, as far as quality out on the job, that would be more of an organization that would have to, take care of that part of it. But yeah, we keep track of all their grades and if they're showing up and things like that. If that's what you're looking at when it comes to quality control. Like I said before, there's no ceiling. Benefits for workers, retention. Once you show all this investment into this apprentice, they're going to want to stay there. So that's not only a benefit for them, it's a benefit for the company. They're going to be more productive workers because they're getting that training from two different ends. They're getting on the job learning and also learning in the classroom. And we brought up earlier, when you think of apprenticeships, you think of, the construction trades. I'll say plumbers for some reason, I don't know why. But they are the ones that created this whole model. So we're following that model. We're just using it in different ways. So do they have to be union? No. And it says right here, everybody can read that 93% of all new apprenticeship programs are, non-union. And they're also coming from all these different, sectors. That being said, we do work with unions. Now, if you do have a union company, we can work with them. I use one example is Steppen Corporation. They basically have it's a non-registered apprenticeship program, and it's been in place for a long time before we actually developed this, and it works for them. So there's no reason to change. The one thing that would have to change if they were wanting to jump in and join something like this, or if it was a union company, the union's contract would have to include that, or if they are already under contract and they decided they wanted to do this, they would have to ratify their contract to include that they'd be doing training, or they would have to do training at Joliet Junior College. we also work with unions to refer, as we spoke about that earlier. So if we have a student that comes in and they're like, you know what, I really like this, pipe fitting. Do you think that, I could go from here to here? We work with unions. It's kind of almost like a pre-apprenticeship that I've talked to some of them, like they recommend certain classes. Local 176 electricians local will recommend some classes if somebody's kind of on a bubble, and they'll come in, they do well on those classes and they've taken some of our students. We'll refer them through. So we have a really good partnership, and it's not like Joliet Junior College is going to start up a carpenter's hall or something like that, or a plumber's hall, where they've been doing it for 100 some years. We'd have quite a bit of catch up to do. They already had that model down. So would Melissa now want to talk about some of these components?
Yes. There's 5 core components of a registered apprenticeship program. The first is business involvement. Employers are the foundation of any registered apprenticeship program. Employers drive the workforce training, so that's first and foremost, is having the companies. Second part is on the job learning. And what that is basically the apprentice will earn while they learn. They will be able to skill their craft and gain the skills and proficiencies so they can master their skills. And also, as part of the program, there needs to be a 1-to-1 mentor to apprentice ratio. That mentor would be somebody who's already in your company that can kind of take somebody under their wing, kind of watch as they progress, make sure they're learning the skills that would be required to get to the end journey worker status themselves. And this is a great way just to ensure you're aligning your company as your retiring workforce, just to make sure all of your knowledge isn't walking out the door as your staff retires. Also, the related instruction. This is where JJC can assist. As we mentioned, you can take credit classes, non-credit classes, online or in-person training is available. We'll work to try to help find funding for companies, through the local WIOA acts, grants, and then also, scholarship opportunities and things like that for students to offset the cost. So, and the thing is, it doesn't matter for the related instruction. You could take a couple classes, or you could have somebody take the whole degree. It's entirely up to how you want to have the apprentice learn what you feel will complement what they're learning on the job. Fourth piece is the reward for skills gains. Basically, what this means is throughout the duration, say it's a 2-year apprenticeship program, it shows when they reach certain benchmarks, say it's every 6 months, they start at $10. At 6 months, they get a pay bump. Another 6 months, they get a pay bump, and so on and so forth till they get to the ending wage, which is what you would consider paying somebody who had journey worker status and had all that knowledge and experience. So that's where it shows kind of an incentive for the apprentice. And the fifth piece is that national occupational credential. That comes from the Department of Labor. So that's a national credential that they'll be able to add to their resume and show that they have mastered the proficiencies of that occupation. Okay, we can move ahead and we'll tell you how the steps to get started. First thing, as Paul had mentioned, there's no cost to contact us to come out. We're here as a resource to guide this workforce solution for your company. Whether you're a small to medium-sized company or a large corporation, this model can adapt to any number of employees and any size company. So first thing you do, if we have a meeting, we'll review the competencies and standard of the occupation. So you can let us know what occupation you're thinking about that would align with your company and who you'd want to do. And we currently have 11 registered occupations throughout the Department of Labor. But As I mentioned earlier, there's over 1,100. So just if you don't see them on the list, we'll go over those in a little bit. I'll show you which ones they are. We can work with you to get the occupations that would align that you're looking for. And then you'd sign an employer agreement, just your commitment that you're partnering with JJC on this program. JJC will hold all of the standards. We will do all of the reporting to the Department of Labor. We will follow all of the tracking. We'll partner with you to be a resource, provide information, and we'll check in with you at those certain milestones to make sure that the apprentice is meeting the skills, is progressing on their pay increases and such. But that can take the burden off of your team. You don't need to worry about that. Once you sign the employer agreement with us and we agree on everything, we can get the paperwork rolling. And if something changes down the road, you want to add another occupation, it is able to be adjusted in that way. We can expand upon it and things like that. So don't think you're locked in just because you said it, that on that one day. The other thing you'll want to do is identify potential apprentices and supervisors. That would be your mentor. They could be a new hire that you're thinking of onboarding. It could be a current employee that's already in your staff that you want to upskill. That's who you would maybe want to target for your apprentice. The supervisor, who would be the mentor, you'd want to have somebody. Basically, we always tell them to think about who would you want. You would want this to be a model employee and somebody that you would want your apprentice to emulate, not only from a technical standpoint, but just their personality and how they are as a person. And also, as Paul mentioned, we can help provide a talent pool from our current students, graduates. So if you're looking for positions and you're having a hard time finding an applicant pool, we are more than happy to work with our faculty to partner in that way to provide you just some additional applications. Ultimately, the decision's up to you, because at the end of the day, this will be your employee that you'll be hiring, but that is there for you. So again, just JJC will take all the stress off of you as far as handling the paperwork and making sure all the benchmarks are met, the milestones. Will take care of getting you the paperwork for the tax credit, take care of getting the apprentice their credential at the end. And the biggest thing I'd like to emphasize again is there's no cost for any of that for us to administer the grant and the services to you for this apprenticeship program. The only cost you'll have is what you would have anyway, the cost of paying your employee, and if you choose to reimburse any of their training. But again, we will look for creative solutions to try to help offset some of those training costs for you. So and that's really in a nutshell that part of it. So and even though the pandemic has slowed us being able to go out face to face and meet with companies, one thing I just want to add is just we're prepared to meet virtually. We can kind of get the ball rolling. If you're interested, let us know. We'd be happy to go over the details with you. As I mentioned, we already have 11 occupations approved. You can see the list there from various sectors: advanced manufacturing, transportation, healthcare, and culinary arts, hospitality. So that's our core 11. But if there is an occupation, and also if you're not certain if there's an occupation that would align, please reach out to us. We'd be happy to look through the list and try to help find something for you.
Mike.
And my hand up for a question. We do have a question in the chat box regarding occupations. Do you have any apprenticeship programs right now available for early childhood professionals?
That I could definitely look into that one. I believe there are, but to be specific, I could. I'd like to follow up on that one to make sure.
I did a little research, and I'm not sure if it's registered, but there is a child care development specialist listed with the Department of Labor. So we could do a little bit more research there. And having 2 children in daycare, I know that it's a constant challenge keeping your daycares fully staffed. And I think an apprenticeship might be a great opportunity, because we can provide you with a pool of potential labor, but also the apprenticeship, I think, generates a lot of excitement among potential employees for students. And I think the pool that maybe we didn't have before, once people find out that we have an apprenticeship in place, all of a sudden they're interested, because it's a great way to get an education and work at the same time and know that you're feeding directly into a career. So I think that's a great question. Thank you so much for asking it.
Okay. And as we kind of move on, I'd like to just show you a couple of our apprentices that we already have in the program. Jordan Gutierrez, he is our apprentice for Tangled Roots Brewing Company. He was the one that Paul mentioned. He started at 16 at Tangled Roots, and he was a dishwasher. Very, very energetic, and the management saw a lot of potential in him. So they wanted him to get a formal training to refine his skills, and they are actually kind of an exception to how it goes, but they're actually paying for his entire related instruction. So they're paying for him to get a culinary arts degree from JJC, but the long range plan for him is to one day run a kitchen in one of their restaurants that they hope to open. So you know, and that program is hybrid. It combines time and skill. You'll see there that the hours that are listed, kind of a combination of on the job that he works at the restaurant, but then he also takes classes at JJC. So, and one thing about Jordan and even our next apprentice, I just want to mention real quick, with the pandemic, their related instruction, they're in hands-on career and tech ed classes typically. That had to be shifted online due to the pandemic, and they adapted very well with being flexible. And they also both continued to work during the pandemic at their respective companies. So that's just something I'd like to just add.
Hey, Melissa, another thing I wanted to jump in with, I thought is great about Jordan and Tangled Roots, is that Scott Strucken kind of looked around and saw such potential in this young man and decided, instead of letting him possibly leave the organization for other opportunities, he said, we're going to take you and move you to the next level within our organization, and we are planning to grow. Because Tangled Roots, they have a location in Ottawa. They were about to open a location in Lockport before this lockdown started. And they have another, I think, couple of locations in the works, but it's not a huge company. And I've talked to a lot of people that think apprenticeships maybe aren't for their company because they're a smaller company. And I think that that's a misconception. I think this is a great opportunity to get wonderful training. I mean, the value of a culinary arts degree at Joliet Junior College is just unbelievable. The chef instructors are amazing. And it's an opportunity to get that world-class training and instruction at probably a fraction of what you would have to pay if you were doing the whole thing yourself. So I think of major corporations. I worked for the Marriott. They had a whole arm for training, and every time they wanted me to learn one single skill, they would send me away for a week, and it would cost probably at least $4,000, probably more, and this is 15 years ago, for me to get that one skill. When this, for that same amount of money, you could get a full semester of tuition, of course learning, for the same amount. So I think an apprenticeship is actually a great opportunity for small and even medium-sized businesses to train their workforce without having to outlay millions of dollars or large sums. Paul, did you want to talk about Andrew?
Yeah, those are some great points. Andrew, he's now with Wesco Tool. He actually, they came to us, looking for an apprentice, and they what we did is we developed a pool out of students of potential candidates for Wesco, and Andrew was who they picked, and so now he is there. He's on a time-based apprenticeship, which here you can see, he has to have so many hours on the job learning and so many hours actually learning in the classroom. And one question that I had, when we were bringing this up is, all right, especially, in uncertain times like right now, someone might be afraid, that things are a little bit volatile. How do I know if I'm going to get, 2,000 hours a year for this, this person to work, which it's not a problem. It's just that we'll just have to string it out a little bit farther for them to get the hours that they need to, you know, to actually get the certifications. Yeah, so he's on a time-based path, and there's a give and take of about 25% when it comes to those hours also. And someone asked earlier, you know, about length. You know, his happens to be 3 years. It has to be a minimum of 1 year, but it all depends on what your organization needs. But yeah. Oh, and another great thing about Andrew, he was already an existing student and he had accumulated a bunch of credits. We're able to take those credits and actually apply them back to his apprenticeship. So none of that was lost, and it shortened up how many hours he's going to need as he goes through the apprenticeship.
So looking at the companies, we've been working towards building a non-traditional apprenticeship model for just under a year at this point. And these are our first companies, Tangled Roots and Wesco, and we actually just signed with Logoplasty and Mahoney right before the lockdown happened. So we're excited to move forward with them. We are looking, I was planning to make great use of the summer and building more of the hospitality side. Like I said, we've already started with Tangled Roots. I'm not sure how fruitful my efforts are going to be this summer with all that's going on, but hopefully we can get back up and running and really develop this, because like I said, I really think that this generates a lot of excitement among workers, students, possibly people who are looking to change careers. This is an excellent opportunity for those career changers who they can't afford to leave the workforce for 2 or 3 years to get trained in another area. So if we can get them working and learning at the same time, it's a great opportunity for them. So we're really thankful to our first 4 companies who are willing to take the jump with us. And now hopefully we can get some of you guys out there to message us for more information, and we can find out, you know, how we can serve your needs as well.
Yeah, and adding to that, Ann, we actually had 6 other companies. We're super excited about these first 4. We're very passionate for this initiative to try to continue to grow and provide these workforce solutions for our local area. But we also had 6 other companies, and we had the paperwork in process. We're just waiting to formalize those agreements with those companies when we can get back and meet face to face and go out. And like I said, with the pandemic, it's kind of slowed us down, but it's very promising. And also we're looking to continue and expand and grow. And one other thing I wanted to mention too, in addition to all the paperwork that we do at no cost and getting all that done, we also will provide promotion through success stories, free promotion for your company, for your apprentices that'll be featured in spotlights throughout local industry and through various sources. So that's just another avenue to kind of keep your business on the radar and things like that. And that's available at no cost. So I just wanted to throw that in as well.
So that wraps up our formal presentation, and we'd like to open it up to you guys out there for any questions that you might have for us.
You know, and even too, feel free, even after this, if you think of something, our email, our phone is there, you know, give us a call, reach out. If you'd like to discuss in more detail how it could, you know, align with your company, we're happy to do that.
And even if you feel like this isn't something that might work for your company, if you have a friend or a neighbor who you think this might work for, we'd be happy if you pass the information along or you pass the information to us.
Okay. So if anybody has any questions, please go ahead and direct them into the chat box and we can share those, or as I mentioned, if you'd like to follow up afterwards, we can certainly do that. Remind everybody that we will post the recording on our website, so we can definitely share that out with our members, can direct them there, and you know, urge people to get in contact with the JJC staff if there's any follow-up questions or need for information.
Yeah, and we'd just like to thank the Joliet Chamber for the opportunity to share this program with area businesses. So thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. We thank you for your time today and your knowledge and all of the details that you've shared. We do have a question that came in, wondering if the apprenticeships are limited to only certain counties.
They are not. We can, if a company is located in district, it doesn't matter if their apprentice lives in district or not. We can work with them to provide the training.
And I've got another one
Melissa,
here.
I understand. Oh, sorry. I was going to say,
ahead,
even if the training, if the courses could be done online, I imagine it could be open to pretty much anywhere, even in the country, though the regulations would be catered to the state in which the apprentice was working.
Absolutely, because if there's like, say, a corporate partner that has their headquarters is in Joliet and they have other companies in like Indiana or Ohio, they could also use that model. That would be okay. They're just, yeah, there might be a few little differences. So, but yeah, it's not limited to a specific county.
Okay. And then I have another one here, and it says, apologize if I missed this throughout the presentation, but is there an age range for the individual that can enter the program?
Typically it's 18. There are a few occupations, and that's kind of determined by the standards and by the what's available, if it would allow for ages 16, not less than 16. That would be the minimum, but the typical ones we've seen are 18 and above. So because I believe a lot of like our manufacturing ones, the minimum is 18.
Okay. Okay, well, I think that's it for the questions then, and it looks like we're coming up on 2:30, so I'd like to try to keep the sessions to an hour so that we can get everybody back to work, and I'm sure all of you have to get back to work as well. So thank you again to our three presenters this afternoon here, Ann, Melissa, and Paul. Again, we appreciate all of your information and the knowledge that you shared with us today. I thank Amy for working in the background with the PowerPoint presentation, and Kelly as well for helping us get this set up. So, and again, thanks to all of our attendees today for logging in and taking time out of your day to be with us throughout this virtual conference. I did mention earlier that this is recorded and it will be posted on our website. We've created a COVID-19 resource page. You go to www.jolietchamber.com. At the top, the second slider on the home page has a link to get there. Down on the left-hand side is the archive of all of our video recordings. So that should be up there by the end of the day today. And then it also does have other resources on there, documents and other forms that are useful information, as well as all of our archived daily updates. So that's a good page to utilize throughout this pandemic. Outside of that, I just would like to remind everybody that we do have our next virtual conference coming up on Friday. That'll be at noon, and that'll be with Right Size Facility. I should see some more information coming out, a lot more about that. And then we are working as well on announcing the topics and details for most likely 2 additional virtual conferences for next week. So again, thank you to the team from Joliet Junior College this afternoon. Thank all of our attendees. We wish you a wonderful rest of your Wednesday, and hope you have a good rest of the week. And as always, hope everybody stays safe and well. Thanks everyone for joining us. Take care.
Thank you. You too.